Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. Uh, let's see, what is this? This is June 2021. I had Ernest Lee, Managing Director of America's Citizens M Hotels. Ernest, thanks for being on the cover. Great looking issue. Let's see what this size is. This was 164 pages. It was a very healthy issue. Let's see where I was at. Oh, this is a really good picture. So my publisher's page. I went to the Petty School in New Jersey. I was a 4-year boarder, Hightstown, exit 8 off the New Jersey Turnpike. But this is in the new gymnasium, and there's a saying on the wall that talent hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's our big saying there. So because we used to play all the big high schools and we were just a little prep school and everybody took us for granted and we were like David versus Goliath. But we beat a lot of big teams that in that sector. There was hockey, lacrosse, football, track, so it's kind of, I've always been an underdog in my life, and I got that from Petty because we were just a small school taking on all the big boys. And you know what? I didn't care because if you want to be the best, you got to play the best. So that's anyway. But I don't miss printing the magazine. I don't miss the post office. I don't miss the printer. I don't miss any of that stuff. Being digital has been the greatest transformation I ever did. And all you out there, thank you so much for finding us on the web. Couldn't have gotten there without it. And stick with me because we're gonna have an unbelievable remainder of the year in 2024. So today, I've got a nice gentleman just outside the Big Apple, New York City. His name is Steve Griggs, and his firm is called Steve Griggs Design. And he's a landscape designer in that luxury market. And Steve, say hello from outside of New York City.
Hey Dave, how you doing? I noticed you went to the Petty School. My sons went to like an overnight soccer camp there years ago. Let me tell you something. That place is like a five-star hotel.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well,
Oh yeah.
I was there 78 to 81, and you know what happened was I wanted to be a professional hockey player. So I went to hockey school every summer up in Canada, and I grew up just out of Philly, Valley Forge, and a place called Pottstown. Anyway, there was a place called the Hill School there. It was all boys. It's 5 minutes from my home. Anyway, they told me I didn't have the good enough SSATs to get in, and they wanted me to be a 5-day boarder. I lived like 5 minutes away from the school, so I applied to Chode, Hotchkiss, and anyway, Petty. We went and took the tour, and they were like, "Hey, Mrs. and Mrs. Corson, your son will play 4 years varsity. He'll probably be the captain of the team," which I ended up being, and he'll play college. He'll get recruited. He has a good chance. We'd love to have him come here. And I said, wow, if I'm going to go board, I'm going to go board to a co-ed school. And it was beautiful. I mean, listen, 4 days a week, study hall, athletics on Wednesdays and Saturdays, Saturday morning classes. We had chapel on Fridays, and it was probably one of the best. I had a better time at prep school than I did at the University of Denver. And although the play was a little higher up on the frozen pond or on the green turf, but other than that, I don't know when the last time you went through there, but it is beautiful. They've done some serious construction since I was there. Yeah.
It's like a Ivy League school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Only 500 people go there. So
Yeah.
I only had about 100 with day students and everything, I probably had 140 in my class. But I'm a good alum and I stay in. Actually, I'm the school secretary, one of the three. So I help write, telling people what they're doing and try to keep people in touch as we all get older and stuff. So, yeah, no, the Petty School Falcons. All Viva to all you Pettyites out there. So, Steve, the way this is going to work is we're going to do it in 3 parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, how you ended up where you are today. Then we'll talk about lessons learned from the roller coaster we've all been on over the last several years, and then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase and your contact info with our listeners on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. But before we start out, I do have a quick sponsor, and it is Magic Mind. For those who don't know what this is an all natural. It's made out of 12 natural ingredients, and it replaces all those energy drinks that are full of caffeine and they work for people, but they burn out at the end of the day. And had them reach out to me, and I told them I don't put anybody on my podcast unless I try it. So I went to Sprouts, I got the box. It takes a couple of bottles, about 2 or 3 days to get your body acclimated to it, but it doesn't give you that jittery coffee gig, and it makes you very clarity. And especially if you get up early in the morning, reduces your stress, your productivity shoots up. And I do about 3 quarters, and then if I need a little boost in the afternoon, they call them shots. I'll do that, and it's very cool. So I'll have a discount code if you want to get off coffee, or you're taking those drinks and check it out. I'll put the discount code in there, and well worth checking out. And I'll tell you, my wife took it and she loved it. So, and their motto is do more, stress less. Take that to the bank. Magic mind. And like I said, cool stuff. So, Steve, tell us your story, and the floor is yours.
Hey, gotta get me some of that Miracle Mind stuff. So real quick. So real quick,
Magic mind, magic mind.
Magic mind. So real quick, I born in Manhattan when I was 6, moved up to the suburbs like everybody else. Went to high school locally. My father was a union construction worker in Manhattan, local 15. Right. So this is I'll never forget this. And in the winters when I was home from college, I would schlep with him at 4:30 in the morning to New York City, freeze my ass off outside, working for Mayrich Construction and skyscrapers, and that's where I really learned the discipline and the hard work and the no BS excuses when you do New York City construction. There is no rainy days, there's no sick days. So I would see him drag himself into the city every day. And that he's he passed away, 50-year union guy, right? And I remember him telling me, "Oh, you should come to the union, good benefits and all that." And just the thought of that, it's not for me. So I went to landscape school, got a landscape architect degree, went to Mississippi State, got out, and I wasn't going to live somebody else's dream. So here we are, 40 freaking years later. I'm still doing it, still trying to learn, still trying to get on podcasts, just trying to always be learning, right?
Yeah. Always listen. I always say, always be moving forward, man. Don't be going backwards. Always move forward, no matter what you're doing. And hey, listen, like we were talking earlier, it had to be awesome going to, being a Bulldog down at MSU, in Mississippi State. The rivalry between Ole Miss and and it's just a beautiful place to go down here in the South. So maybe that kind of rubbed off on you.
Love the South. One thing's interesting that nobody really knows about me is that I was actually a Mississippi State cheerleader, right?
Oh,
yeah. But you don't talk about that when you're in New York. Like they would make fun of me all the time until they saw me on TV, and then they kind of got a hint.
Yeah, man, you had the guns, man.
The guns, hanging out with I says, guys, you have no idea, hanging out with the nice, pretty Southern ladies. Best time of my life, for sure.
And you got to be on the sidelines watching the game for free.
I mean, it was nothing better, man. I mean, it was like nothing better. But you don't want to tell your New York friends that you were a cheerleader. It's not, back in the 80s, it wasn't, it was kind of like, really? So,
yeah.
Love the South. So, go Dogs.
So, what was the best win that you saw Mississippi State in? Who they beat? Who was the best game that you ever
Alabama, 6-3, man.
Wow.
I mean, they never beat.
I think I saw videos of that game where it was just a defensive struggle, right?
Yeah, it was like that was Bear Bryant was still alive. That was my first semester down there. I remember it was just
Was that home or away?
That was they didn't have stadiums really back then. They would all meet in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Because that's where it was it was a bigger stadium. They would house more people. But now, I mean, now everybody has the stadiums, the suites, the luxury boxes. It's just transformed. And it was a long time ago.
Wow, Bear Bryant. That's just
man. It's cool.
Amazing.
It was a good time. You don't really appreciate it until you're out of it and you look back to say, wow, you really, got to travel, got to eat good, they paid for school, so it was good stuff. So here I am landscaping, man. Let's go back up to New York.
Hey, Steve, I'm going to tell you right now when we get off, I'm going on the web and I'm going to look up Mississippi State, Alabama games. I want to check out what you look like on the sidelines, man, with the cheerleaders. Come on. I'm going to do it.
Good times, man.
Hey, I wouldn't mess with any, a guy cheerleader, man. Like I said, man, you got the guns and you got
the guns.
you know,
Can't drop
so
the girl. Don't drop the girl. Don't drop her. Don't drop her.
yeah.
Don't drop her. But
Well, listen, let me ask you a question. To be a man cheerleader, you obviously had to be an athlete because, did you play any sports before
yeah,
you went to
played soccer, right?
soccer? Okay.
Played soccer, but then I was like,
So did you have to try out for the team when you didn't know cheerleading or any of that stuff, or
yeah, it was like a more of a, they did more clubs down there because it was way back 40 years ago, right? So it wasn't soccer back then was not like it was today. And I remember practicing and I seen the cheerleading squad off to the side with the guys and the girls. I go, that
what
looks,
is
that's, yeah, like, come on. Like, and then frat brother showed me explained a little bit more about it. So I was like, let's give it a shot. They just were intrigued that I was from New York, right? And it's not just being athletic, it's being, a leader, right? Like when your team is getting pummeled by Georgia, you have to be able to keep that momentum up and keep the crowd up. So I like to believe I've carried that through to my business because as construction, you got to keep the troops motivated, man. It's not easy out there. You need to keep them motivated, right? Um, so we can talk about that whole thing with jobs and all that, but I like to try to marry those two together somehow.
no, no. Hey, listen, I totally get that whole concept of people in the South and they don't, listen, the South is like a whole nother world when you go from like probably Virginia South, on 995, Virginia down. Once you get into Florida, I don't consider it the South. They say it is, but Georgia's really the cutoff, and then you got Bama, Mississippi, and but it's just a different world. And but now 50, got like we were talking earlier, half the stadiums when other teams come in, they've got the other team's jersey on. Everybody's a transplant down here. So,
Yeah.
but back then it wasn't like that. It all that migration happened over probably the last, before after you were in school and stuff. So, well, um, let's talk about. So you're a landscape architect. You've been doing it for all these years. You've probably seen all sorts of stuff. And uh, looking back over the roller coaster over the last 4 years now, almost, that the first week of March of 2020, cranes are everywhere, low unemployment, everything's cruising along, and then everything, boom, and no one really knew how long it was. Here we are 4 years later. We're still freaking talking about it. And, we're still bumps in the road, but we're basically out of it. Tell me how what lessons that you learned and how you applied it to keep your company going. And then any cool things that you have that you see in the landscape architecture side of things, down the road in the pipeline as, we go through 2024 in the future.
I mean, don't forget, I've been doing this for a long time. So I've been through 2008, 2009. So I was, I'm freaking battle hardened, man. Like you're not shaking me. I'm like the cockroach, man. I saw that coming. I'm not kidding. I saw
Yeah.
it coming, shut down. But what the biggest thing that I didn't expect is business freaking quadrupled. Like boom, like shot out of a cannon. Like everybody wanted to be outside. Everybody wanted to get stuff. You couldn't get material. You had to, lead times for stuff were crazy. You just couldn't. But everybody, you can be, you know, you don't even have to be in a business, and you were getting work, right? Anybody can get work. If you had two arms and two legs, and you could pick a shovel, you got a job, right? It was just crazy time, but you couldn't get material.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really skyrocketed that. So, but things have leveled off a little bit back down to normal, and it's good. It keeps everybody humble a little bit. Like, cause I try to tell everybody, it's not always like this, guys. Like, you're gonna get spoiled, and then when stuff flips the other way, you're gonna get crushed.
Hmm. Yeah. I remember, as I was growing up, I went through the 76 oil embargo. Then I went through the 80s with 18%, and basically a recession and so forth. And then, the 90s were okay. And then you had the internet bubble. You had 9/11. I was in the city in 9/11, had just gotten there.
Mm.
And then I never actually drove home. I got a great New York story. So I'm driving home. 9/11 happens. Took me 4 hours to get to call my office in Atlanta, and our headquarters were down in an old Montgomery Ward building down really close to Ground Zero. and we were coming in for a show for Javits. So we had breakfast, and then we see the little plane. Oh, it's a little plane at the World Trade Center, and then the other one, and then we went back. We were stuck there. You couldn't get off the island unless you walked it, like people walking across the George Washington Bridge. So I called my office. The first thing I said, get me a rental car. So they got me a rental car. We spent the day, and I had my rep, and then I had a rep from LA, and I had one other person. And so we spent the day there. We tried to get blood, and, do the right thing. It was beautiful day that day, unbelievable
Yeah.
day,
Crystal
and
clear. I remember that.
crystal
Yep.
clear. I mean, just a beautiful day in New York, no humidity, and uh, we ended up in a bar having dinner. And I remember Bush came on, the whole bar just went dead silent. And then about 11, I was talking to my wife. We were at the Sheraton on 55th and 8th, I think, or 7th. And I'm looking down towards Times Square, and there were no cars or anything, just a couple of emergency vehicles. And I'm standing in the middle of 7th Avenue looking down, talking to my wife. I go, this is just a weird. But the next day, when I went to get that rental car, I was in a line like 2.5 miles long. I think I got the last car to get off, in that was available in Manhattan. So me and the rep, we drive to Atlanta. So I said, look, we got to stop. We'll stop in Raleigh. We'll get a hotel and we'll drive the last 6 or 7 hours, whatever it was. So right before I get off the highway in Raleigh, there's a New York cab going south on 95 with two guys in the back seat. Okay. And they're like, yeah, we're getting home. And I don't know where they were going, but I'll remember that the rest of my life. A New York cab in North Carolina going south on 95.
Whatever it takes, man. He probably said, what's it going to take for you to get me to the guy? Probably peeled out some hundreds and said, let's go. And that was it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so it was before, it was kind of like just when cell phones came in and the Nokias, and they really didn't have the camera. And I didn't have a camera on, but I wish I would have had a picture of that. But it's digitally in my mind.
Yeah.
And then so anyway, look, I always try to make a positive. That was an awful day, and but regardless, it it shaped me. It was
Yeah.
it happened, and you got to learn from it, and look, New York came back, and it was it just it affected the whole world, I think, and but anyway, that seeing that New York cab on 95, I'll never ever forget that. It's embedded in my mind. It's like one, so um, let's talk about so obviously you got the thick skin, being a New Yorker and all that, and uh, talk about some of your projects, because I was on your website. You got some cool looking stuff. You do high luxury, residential. You do the decks, you do the landscaping, and to me, landscaping can completely turn any property, whether it's commercial or residential. It'll just change the curb appeal, and if you have a backyard or what have you, it can just give it that extra wow factor. Am I right?
Correct. Yes. Like I try to tell everybody here in New York, taxes are super high. So you want to squeeze the lemon as much as you can. So if you have a 50 by 50 parcel, you want to utilize every square inch of that parcel. And we do that by creating outdoor living spaces where you can extend the living space outside. It's very simple, and it increases the property value. They say studies show 20%. Since the pandemic, people are begging for that outdoor space, outdoor offices, that kind of stuff where they can elongate the season and then be outside more. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, listen, right now I'm in permitting. I bought a piece of land up on Lake Lanier. It's just north of Atlanta. It's 600 miles of coastline. The Army Corps put the Buford Dam in, and it backed up the Chattahoochee. We bought a piece of land in 2020. I've been sitting on it, and the HOA came to me in November and said, "Hey, Mr. Corson, you need to build your house. You're 2 years late. Come on, we want to put new. You're the last of 3 of 52 people that live in there. We want to get the roads resurfaced. We don't want the trucks coming in after we paid." So I'm in permitting. I'm in the permitting cycle. I'm waiting for my septic, and I just got my note yesterday. I got my water meter done. But I have to wait for It takes about 2 weeks for everybody to put their hands on it, and then about 20 days for my building permit. And then I'm going to go knock down some trees. And my wife's an interior designer, renovation consultant, and but she's never done a ground up. So well, we're doing the ground up build ourselves, and we're going to do a videography of it, and that's why what I told her in the back, I said, talking about landscaping, we're digging, we put the basement in because you gotta have a basement when you live in Georgia. It's just one of those things. It's tornadoes and stuff. You don't want to be on a slab. You just want to have someplace to go. And so I said, look, I'd like to put turf in the back. We can make it really look nice, but we can put flowers in the front. You can deal with all that stuff. I know, that you like that foo-foo touch, and I know you'll do a good job on it. And the funny thing is that when we bought the house, everybody was under construction. So we walked through all those homes. They're all southern ranches basically, and all custom. And we walked through everything. So she was very, why do I do that? Well, they didn't use any of that space or this and that. So I told her when we were building, I said, look, all your neighbors, they know you're a designer. They're going to come in our house, and they're going to be very, very tough on you because they know you're, an interior designer. You went through all their homes. Now they're going to come in to you. So you got to bring your A game. You got to be on the varsity, man, when you come in there, because I don't want to hear from anybody there. I just want to hear that house is beautiful. And I'm not the biggest, I'm not the smallest. I just wanted to be, there we go. That was a really, really good job you guys did, and you built it yourself. And we want it for her portfolio. And so I've got some. So this year I was like, I'm not even going to really do that much travel, and I'm going to do one event a month because I'm going to be breaking ground, and we're acting as the GC, and it'll be very, very exciting. The day I start, when they start clearing and knocking those trees down, it's going to be. And I'm sustainable. Some of those trees are big oaks, and they've been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. The pines, they can go. They'll mulch those things, but there's a local furniture guy that will come in and reuse the wood that we're doing. So I'm trying to be as green as possible, and get the materials in that we need to do. But I'm psyched to see what she does there in the back.
You better be there every day, my friend, because contracting is, as you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you and I are very similar because my family's been in demo recycling since 1888. It's in fifth generation. So
Wow.
all the grandsons when I was in Philly, we got our licenses at 16. All the grandsons, my cousins, everybody had to go and work in the scrapyard. And my uncle Frank was the super. May he rest in peace, but he was one tough son, SOB. And if you were 1 second late, if you weren't there at 6:55 or 59, and he's looking at the time clock, but he molded me, and I shoveled asbestos, I railed railroad tracks. I mean, I did all sorts, and I grew up down there at the scrapyard, playing in the cranes and the dump trucks and all that stuff. But the same thing with your dad bringing you in there and dealing with the Teamster, the union guys. It's just, that is a priceless education of what built this country to the greatness that it is. And, that can-do spirit, it's still here today, but I don't think a lot of people appreciate how hard people work. And New York, you got to have thick skin to do business in that, and I don't care if it's Manhattan or the five boroughs or whatever it is, you got to have thick skin. And I always tell people, just like I coached my son all the way through, lacrosse and roller and taekwondo. I told him, I said, look, my job as a father is to make sure that you have thick skin, because when you get out of school and you get out in the real world, that's where it is vicious out there. Business is competitive. And,
Definitely. It's like sports.
Yeah, well, that's why I told you, I like having athletes on here that have gone from the sports field to
it's
and
exactly
they all
the
tell
same
you.
thing.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah.
No different.
And you got to have it, because if not, you're going to get eaten alive, and people are just going to beat on you. And so I always, told, after my son, graduated, I kind of kept coaching lacrosse and hockey here. I told all my teams, I'm like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to make sure that you get better from the time we start or whatever. But really, I'm molding you so as when you become an adult and you get out there, that you'll be prepared, that, you'll know how to win and lose, how to take it, and that you got thick skin, and that you're going to be able to survive out there. And it was funny. I just saw one of my kids. I haven't seen these people in probably 15, 17 years. And they were like, Coach Corson, is that you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh my God, I still remember you screaming, on the boards, clear the puck. And my son still still listens to that, and you know, I was looking, I was like, oh, that's great, man. Actually, someone actually listened to me, you know. So
Actually, actually listen to you, right? You
yeah,
didn't think, you thought you were just yelling at, hey, like these guys don't listen to me, but you stuck it what you stuck in their head, right? It's the same thing growing up. I still hear my father coming in, stamping his boots off at the door, getting the snow off of it. Like it's like ingrained in my head.
yeah,
I still
yeah.
get yelled at for wearing my construction boots in the house. My wife, get those freaking shoes out of here.
Yeah, my only union job that I had was I worked down in Atlantic City my freshman summer. I came back and I was a bar back in Resorts International, and I you know, I had to join the bartenders union in Atlantic City. And you know, Atlantic City, look, you got the beach block, and then it's a little rough as you get in, interior, you know, past Atlantic or, and anyway, the union shop was like in not the nicest part of Atlantic City. I mean, it was scary, you know, going in there, but that's where I had to get my picture, you know, get fingerprinted and my license, and but that was my only union job that I had, and but it was an experience, and they're like, hey, you want this job? You got to go over about 4 blocks, you know, and see Johnny. And, you know,
Well,
I'm just telling you how it was.
carrying ice is probably better than shoveling asbestos. I don't know. It's your call, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I did the bar back, but they had a little hot dog thing, right? So all the buses that would charter all the people from Philly or New York or wherever to come down to AC, I ran this little hot dog stand, and all the old ladies, they come in, hey, I've got my coupon for my Coke and my hot dog. Where do I get it? You know, and I'm just like, man, I'm gonna take care of you. You know, are they hot? Are they hot dogs? Or are they cold dogs? I'm like, no, they're hot. Come on, this is a classic casino. You know, you got so. But that's a whole nother story, you know, for another time. Talk about some of your coolest projects because I was on like I said, I went to I was visit the website before I go on there. Some of the stuff you've done are beautiful. You know, what are your favorite things, and then what do you see coming down the pipeline? You know, from a landscape architecture kind of gig. You know
I
that
mean,
look for.
some of the toughest projects were on 34th Street. We did a project 34, 35 stories up on the rooftop. The logistics, the parking tickets, the change order work, just to try to get that job executed is a challenge in itself. So that was a tough job. Another couple of jobs, putting swimming pools overlooking the Hudson River on cliffs, right? Those are tough jobs. So we kind of like the tough jobs because not many people can do the tough jobs, right? So that's where we draw on all that experience and all the knowledge and try to take on the tougher jobs. I mean, what's coming down the pike is I see the continuation of expanding the outdoor living space, right? People like privacy. They like a lot of people work from home now, so we're building a lot of like outdoor, AKA offices, Wi-Fi hookups, pergola type stuff with heaters in it, ceiling fans, always outdoor kitchens, patios, fire pits, basically anything to do to extend the season in the Northeast, right? That's why you have fire. You don't need as many fire pits and heaters and down south, but more of that up north tends to work out a lot better. Those are
We're
the
doing that. We're putting a big pizza oven in the back of ours.
Yeah, pizza ovens are big. That's it's cool stuff. People like it. Is it wood burning? Or is it going to be gas? Some people I try to explain the difference between the wood and the gas. The wood tastes better, but it takes 3 hours to heat it up, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, we're doing gas up there. We're gonna be doing all the gases. Same thing with the fireplaces. You know, it's just allowed to mask the ash. I'm like, we'll just do gas.
just get yourself a little fire pit outside. You want to be a little manly, throw a little log outside. But my wife
Yeah,
said the same thing. I don't want the smell of the smoke in the house and all that, but
yeah,
keep it clean.
yeah, yeah. Talking about materials back, in March, the first thing I did when we were just basically, going, okay, what am I gonna do with myself? I told my son, I said, look, we got to redo the deck, and so we went to, I went and got all the materials, and if I would have done that like 4 or 5 months later, it would have been like triple the amount of money because everything went skyrocketing. But we did the deck, and I did it with him. He's like, Dad, why aren't you a contractor? I'm like, you come from a contractor family and this, and I'm like, no, I am. Look, I build a magazine. I just don't use 2x4s and, stain and, roofing materials. I use ink, paper, content. Now,
But you could build it though if you had to, right? You do know you do have the knowledge to do it,
no,
right?
no, no. I totally do. And But just like, I take things from the athletic field. My dad was in upholstery furniture. So we had all our factories down in North Carolina. We actually had one
Oh
in
yeah, so you came
Mississippi.
from, so you were down like Asheville, right? Asheville's.
Yeah, Hickory. We had one in Hickory. We had one down in Valdez, which was in Mississippi, and it was called Corson Furniture Industry. We were the largest privately held upholsterer. And back then,
Ah,
listen,
wow,
High Point
that's
was the big
cool.
market, but we had our office in down on 32nd and Lex. And when I was growing up too, I used to go down to the showroom and hang out, and all the sales guys would come in the fabric, and then. Um, my grandfather passed away when my father and his brother were like 21, and they were early. So they took the company over and they grew it. And then and once again, I'm a nice Jewish boy, and the Jewish boys always go in the family business. So it was my cousin and I. So when I got out of school at DU, I did my retail training at Levitt's. And Gary Levitt's and my father, they were both pilots, and and he got the line into Levitt's Furniture. That was his big gig. But I put more of those little brass sofa tables together. I unloaded trucks of, 500 chassis. I scotch guarded. I was a picker on the thing. I learned everything that you needed to know. The one thing it was the dreadful thing. Every morning we used to walk the showroom floor, and they'd always get a new bedroom suit in. And some of the stuff was really freaking heavy. And then they go, look, we got to yank this one out, and we want to put this one in too, but you got to move the whole aisle down. So, and there were, we were the merchandiser, so we had to do it. And but once again, it's like, okay, we got to move like 15 sets, and we only have 45 minutes to do it before the doors open. And but I learned a lot there. And once again, loading trucks and picking, and but then when it came time for me to go to Hickory, it had one restaurant and one hotel, and it was the middle of the 80s, and people were like, what are they going to buy? They're going to buy, I was like, I don't think furniture is my bag. And so, in anyway, but that's so I kind of had the upholstery side, but then I had the steel side of it on my mother's
Yeah,
side.
it's kind of two different. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
little, it's a little,
but
yeah, it's a little dramatic. Compare it's, upholstery to scrap metal is totally two different things. But look, it built nice character for you.
yeah, but you'd be amazed. The guys when the way they used to build our furniture was known for craftsmanship. But today, furniture it's not made the way it is. It's made overseas, and a lot of the textile mills and stuff that they disappeared. And but it was a craftsmanship. I remember going in when I was younger and taking the tour, and they put the frame up on this thing, and the guy spinning. He's got the gun, and it was all about momentum and getting out as many as you could a day and getting the trucks out the door. And I was looking at this guy, I'm like, God, he's like a fine carpenter, but he's doing it with upholstery. And
Mm,
it was amazing thing to see how well, like things today, they're built to break, so you have to buy new stuff.
sure.
But like old cars or furniture or anything like that, back in the day, things were built to last a long time. And that craftsmanship, I think, has been, net. But seeing some of my clients that are contractors or fixture guys, they make beautiful stuff. Just like some of the fixtures, or your when you're doing a landscape architecture for a backyard, some of the furniture they might put in, some of the stuff is beautiful. So don't get me wrong. I don't, I'm just saying that in that woodworking side of things, I think that craftsmanship, is kind of going by the wayside. I mean, my favorite class when I was growing up was wood shop,
Wow.
going into school. So, but I got the best of both worlds. I had the retail, and I sold the construction side of things. I mean, I still have my erector box, my metal erector box that I glue up with. I built so many things, and it's got the wheels and the gears and the crane, and that's that was my thing. And but like I said, 1888. You can look it up. Mayor Pollock Steel .com. You can look it up, and they're still doing it today. My cousins are running the business, and I get up there, and we talk about the old days when we were going in there. All of us piling in the back of the truck driving into Philly before people were worried about seat belts, and every day I had to take a shower. OSHA would come in because they had to get all the lead off me or whatever I might be doing, and so I learned a long day. Hey, listen, but you work hard, you get a fair day pay, and then you can say, "Hey, I built that," or "I
Sure.
demoed that."
Hmm.
So it's a pride thing.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you and maybe they're thinking about doing their backyard or they want to do a rooftop for their commercial property or, how would they reach out to you?
I mean, at stevegrigsdesign.com is the website. At Steve Griggs Design is the Instagram now. I've had to learn all this new social media stuff, which is a challenge in itself, right? But it's definitely. I wish I had some of this back then in the days. Podcasts like yours, where you can learn a lot of stuff. We didn't have this. We didn't have this. You got to like learn from the hard knocks. Now you basically just can come on a podcast like this, learn some stuff, Google stuff and just kind of go on your own. So yeah, I've been doing this a while. I'm still going to be doing. I don't know what else to do, right? Like, what else am I going to do? I don't like golf. I'm not going to go retire, but so I just keep doing. But I do like the sport of it. You mentioned something early on where it's kind of like sport. I have clients ask me, "Oh, when you do my job, can you hire Johnny for the summer? You don't have to pay him, but I don't want him sitting inside on the video game. I bring the kids on. I bring your kid wants to work for me and you're doing it, no problem. He can carry lumber. He can carry stuff. Trust me, 1 week landscaping in 98-degree weather, he will have a new outlook towards everything. Absolutely. Works every time. Every
Yeah.
time it works.
And you know what? Listen, we need labor in this country. I don't care if it's for residential or commercial. There is a void. We need carpenters, we need welders, we need electricians, we need all those people. And so some of the kids that you have going in there that maybe you planted a seed with them that when it comes time for them, maybe they don't want to go, watch the football games at MSU, and they go the trade route. And my son, he went to aviation mechanic school, and now he's working for Boeing. He works on the 787s, $350 million airplanes, and he's a special on the flight line. And some people aren't just made for school. So I have a new student newsletter that I'm launching in my next issue that's coming up next week, and we want to plant the seed. I don't listen. We need landscape architects. We need engineers. We need construction management. We need GC. We need all of that stuff because all these older companies, these people are going to retire. Same thing with on the airplanes. You can't leave a plane on the tarmac. It's got to be maintained. And about 600,000 of these maintenance guys are going to retire, and there's a huge void. And so, first he was going to be a motorcycle mechanic. He always liked working on cars and all that kind of stuff. So I knew but he was an excellent lacrosse player. And I was really bummed that was the one bummer that when he went to trade school because they didn't they do a trade school. They're not interested in the teams or any of that stuff. But he probably could have gotten recruited. He was a defense deep hole in lax. Tough son of a gun. I would not want to go up against him. And but first he wanted to be a motorcycle guy. I said, look, an auto guy. I said, if you don't own your shop, you're not going to make the big bucks. Then he goes, well, I'll do motorcycles. I go, if you do motorcycles, you have to do in some place where they ride all year. And then we took the tour locally at the school, and he just fell in love with it. And I said, cool, 2-year degree. Then it takes a year to get your A&P license, and then you're there. So what you're doing by taking subliminally having your neighbor's kid work with you and figure out what it is to work out in the 95-degree humidity in the summer. Some of those kids might actually end up in the labor force. So you're doing an awesome thing. So thank you for doing that.
It's more like they grow appreciative of it. Like if they help lay the patio, even if it's just carrying the bricks over, they can go back and say, "Hey, I helped build that patio." You know what I'm saying? What'd you do for the summer vacation? I mean, the parents are like, "Oh, you don't have to pay them." I pay them. They little camaraderie. They hang out with the Latin American labor. You're like one of the guys. My kid did it too for summers, man. It's like it's funny. It's funny.
So
Yeah.
how did you treat your kid?
My kid?
Yeah.
Come on, you know what it's like. You're late. Why are you late? The hardest. I treat him the hardest.
Oh yeah.
The hardest.
I had my son on my podcast about 8 months ago, and I thought I was going to hear this like 20 years from now because I always tell him, I said, look, my job's to make, like I said earlier, my job's to make sure that you're going to make it out there. And I know some of the things I told you while you were growing up that you probably thought I was, just BSing you. But then as you get older, you'll see that I was right. So on this podcast, he actually came out. He came
You
out.
were right. He said you were right.
He goes, well, you and mom are both tough on me, but I have to thank you for being that way because I would have never gotten this job at Boeing
See
or,
that?
you know,
I'm not that state. We're not that there yet. We're still
and,
like, oh, you made me work in 98-degree weather.
well, but I also coached him. So I mean, I was always hard on him, and I treated him fairly with everybody. And there was one time he was trying to make the select team, and I was reffing the game, and I called a penalty on him, and he's
Oh
like, "If you
gosh.
called a penalty on me, I'm not going to make the team." I'm like, "Dude, you called a penalty. That's the way it works. There's no favoritisms out here. I'm looking to build a team." So, but he made it on his own. But on the podcast, it just blew me away because I thought I was going to hear this years from now. And he came out and he goes, "If you didn't teach me and been hard on me the way that you were," and I wasn't mean to him, I was just tough on him. Just like I
Sure.
said, always be early, finish what you start. If you don't know, ask. Okay, just all this stuff. And he just came out and said, "Thank you." And I almost got in tears. I was always tearful, but it was very satisfying because sometimes I was like, oh, maybe I was a little too hard on there, or
Yeah.
this and that, and
Yeah.
you know. But
All right. A little rough.
I remember sitting there. I could look at like 6 or 7 of his friends are up in the bonus room, and I could go down there, go down the soap, and go, okay, you're gonna end in jail. You'll be a doctor. I don't know about you, and they all ended up where they were, just like I thought. I'm a pretty good judge of character.
You get it pretty good. And same with sending him down south. When he went down south, he came back. You're meeting different people all the time. You just got to get out, meet people, man. Like you can't. And as far as the trade schools, I mean, plumbers and electricians are making a fortune.
Yeah, yeah.
A fortune.
Yeah. No. He goes, well, what about the plumber jokes? I said, don't worry about the plumber jokes. You're going to be a millionaire. Look, we'll go find a plumber and you'll be an apprentice.
What do they
And
say? Plumber jokes?
yeah, he goes, what about the plumber jokes? And I'm
Oh,
like,
the
what
crack.
about them? The crack? Yeah, the crack. And I said, look, bro, dude, you know how much plumbers make? I go, look, we'll find a guy that he doesn't have any children. He has no one to give his business to. We'll make an apprentice and we'll buy him out, and then you can run the gig and you can write your ticket,
Yeah.
you know? And I go, look, whatever you want to do, I'm just giving you options. And but he's working with his hands and he's doing his gig, and he just passed his pilot's written test, and he's already solo, but he's taking his flight. In about 2 months, he'll get his real pilot's license, and we'll see where that goes. But it's been an adventure, and believe me, when I was going to high school, and I think it was in junior, I had to drag him out. He'd be at school at 7 o'clock in the morning, and hated going to school. And but once he got into the trade school, it was like a 180. He was up. He wanted to be the first one in there.
It was interesting to him. Sitting in biology class is not as interesting as So like you said earlier, each guy you need to find your niche, right? Like whatever. School's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Being a social media influencer is not for everybody, right? Everybody thinks they can just post a thing and make a millionaire, but it takes hard work. So
So, Steve, if you had one positive thought or phrase that you'd want to leave with our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk, what would it be?
I would have to say, cut the crap, cut the excuses. Nobody cares about your dog ate your homework, why you're late for work. I got a flat tire, I got pulled over. The biggest thing that's helped me throughout 40 years is basically do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. No excuses. And that leads to referrals, repeat work. And that's really been the key to my success after 40 years.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Finish what you start and do what you think. Yeah, I'll leave a positive thought here. I was running the other night, and I'm nurture my business page for my digital agency. Michael Jordan said it best. He said, have fun, play the game, and uh, just it's if you're not having fun, you go do something else because you got to enjoy what you're doing. You know.
Exactly. You
So,
got to pay the bills
um,
too. So you got to make some money while you're doing
yeah.
it. So,
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and what a great story. Yankee going to Mississippi, coming back, work for the father 40 years, going in the city 4:30 in the morning. I mean, that's just all classic stuff. So, thank you so much for being so open and sharing all that stuff. A
yeah,
couple of things. Go ahead.
keep me posted on your house, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, look, I'm videographing and I'm probably gonna put
Let's
it in the
go.
mag.
Let's get
Yeah,
set up the job site cams. I want to see you yelling at a couple
yeah. I just got my
contractors.
concrete. We're in bidding pro. We're getting all our bids in. So we did our budget. And we're trying to figure out where if we're a little high, we're a little low, and I just got concrete in there. Just got my sticks and framing. I got my roofer, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
You
like,
know,
okay, you know.
yeah.
So
You keep in your lane. Your wife keeps in her lane. Like, don't. You know, we do the same thing here. We're doing. You know, show me three options. Don't send me 90 paint swatches. Let me pick three. I'm not gonna look at 8 shades of gray.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know.
Couple things before we close this out.
Sure.
Listen, you're out there on a construction site. I don't care what it is. You got to be safe because once you get home at night, have dinner with your wife, your kids, your partner, whatever. Get some Z's and be able to go do it again. Number two, okay, we want you to stay hydrated. Okay, when you get dehydrated, you make mistakes, especially on the athletic field. Same thing on a construction site. So listen, a night it might not be that hot, or bottom line is you got to drink water, whether it's hot or cold. Drink a lot of it, and you won't get that high dehydration and headaches, and you'll be much more safer. Number three, hit the like button out there. If you're out there in YouTube land or wherever I'm posting this on social media, hit the like button, follow us. We want to get Mr. Griggs' story out there. He's got a great one, and hopefully we'll be able to find him on the sidelines. Going go Bulldogs. With back in his cheerleading days, man. That's I'm gonna find it, man. I'm gonna go on there. I'm gonna look it for you. So, with that said, Steve, pleasure having you. I'm glad your publicist reached out here. And listen, if everybody wants to get on here, listen, his publicist sent me a PR piece. I was like, cool. I don't think I've ever had a landscape architect on here. And I went to his side, looked at his web. Oh yeah, man, I got to have this guy on here. And I knew he was going to be a character before I got on here. So, but that's how you get on there. Send me, come on here. I mean, I look at everything, post it and whatever. So, and pleasure having you. And when I come up to New York, I'm going to look you up and maybe come see
I'll
your
hook
picture.
I'll hook you up with some pizza, man, because I hear the pizza down south is not that good.
No, no, no. It's listen, I like to fold it. I want the oil running down on my shirt, man. I gotta have it that way. My wife says, how can you eat that thin stuff? I'm like, I just grew up that way. I had Ray's Pizza right around the corner for
Yeah,
me.
I know, Rick.
The original one,
So when you
76th and 3rd.
so so when you're building your house, make sure I posted some videos. Bring the Dunkin', man. Bring a box of Joe with some donuts. The guys appreciate it. Treat the people. If you're doing a home renovation or landscape project, and you see the guys working hard outside, get to know their names, man. They're humans. They work hard, man. Bring the case of water. You know what I'm saying? Get the Dunkin' Donut box. They will go the extra mile for you every time, for sure.
I had a guy on yesterday. He did this incentive program where they give him debit cards or they add extra money on, and just keeping your crew happy is the most important thing. So my wife's crew, they love her because she does exactly what you do. She buys them lunch, she buys them pizza, she makes sure that they're completed. She brings the water, she makes sure that they're gold because they're getting pulled from everywhere because there's not enough of them out there, and they do excellent work. So now they got the house. They're like, "Oh, Miss Kristen, oh, I get you the price right away, blah blah blah. I can't wait to work on the house."
Yeah, they do. They'll go bend over backwards for her, right?
Totally.
Totally.
And she's no
Smart,
BS. I mean,
smart.
and
She's
she's the type,
smart.
she's from Canton, Ohio, football town, and so it's rubbed off on her. She looks like she could be on Housewives of Atlanta. Everybody out here, the women, it's just the look that down here in the South.
Yeah, this is
It's the South. It's just
it's
the
the
way it is.
South. They
But
get
let me
dressed
tell
up
you,
to go to a football game. Down
if you do something wrong, she's gonna let you know about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
So she has mad respect. So you're gonna let her be you're gonna let her be the pit bull on the job site. That's
Oh
perfect.
no, listen, I'm taking a back seat and this is her gig. I'm just kind of hanging out watching and I'll step in, if I ever need to, but I'm like, "Hey, look, we're getting these are all your subs. The only subs that we don't have are, our foundation, sticks and frame and the roof. Once that's done, your guy's going to take
Yeah,
over."
you basically let you go. So yes, look, send it. Yeah, I can't wait to see the video, the documentary of you have this thing rolling here, right? I
Oh
want to
yeah.
see you and the wife butt heads a little bit too. That's good too.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, we've been together 30,
Yeah.
33 years. You know how marriage is, listen, it's a game, man. Some days are better than others, but you just got to look, until death do us part. I'm
Oh
committed.
man, I'm the same way. I'm like, what are you gonna do? Kick me out of the house? It's like pick a color gray and let's paint. Like I'm not looking at 9 shades. You'll see. But
Yeah,
she's her business, so she'll figure it out.
yeah, yeah. Well, everybody, listen. It's it's TGIF today. Have a great rest of the day. Go into the weekend. Listen, don't work if you don't need to. Have fun. Spend some time with your friends, your kids, your family. Go out to dinner, get a bite to eat or a pizza, whatever. Get some Z's and get ready for another awesome week ahead. Okay, and we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. And Steve, thank you so much for being a guest. I'm honored to have you and thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And go
Likewise.
Bulldog! MSU, right? All right. Everybody, ciao. We'll see you next time. See ya.
Take care. Take care. You got it. Have a good one.
Cheers.